Star Wars only, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
My uploads haven't been so frequent, and it's been because I've been working like 6 days a week. I don't really have a lot of free time as it is, and so when it comes to Star Wars, I'm working on it, just not on the channel per se. But sometimes they're just topics that I need to cover, that people are coming to me and saying, Star Wars only, where are you? I need to hear your thoughts on this situation. And right now it appears that the script for the Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Episode 9, is still being written. They're still writing the script for the movie. What were you, like 4 months out from its release? It's already happened and everything. We've already seen it, but the script's still being written in the new book by Ray Carlson. And this book has revealed so many annoying tendencies and things that have happened. Apparently, first things first, I'm sure you've all heard it now, Palpatine in the movie, when you see him, he's all, messed up looking, his fingers are missing and whatnot, and you would think, rightfully so, oh, okay, well maybe it's the one who survived the explosion. No, it may behoove you to know this is actually a clone of Palpatine. Yeah. Does that sound familiar? Anyone ever heard of the EU? Not the European Union. The expanded universe, my friends. Yep, nothing like a little plagiarism in the Star Wars universe. And I'm not knocking it for that. I'm just saying that, if you're not going to use those stories, why are you using those stories? It just doesn't make sense. And apparently even Ian McDiarmid came out and said that there was going to be a line in the original script that he got that said, Kylo Ren basically calls him a clone, and he says more than a clone, less than a man. Very good line, I will say. But basically, the explanation that we got in the movie for why he returned was the dark side. And it's just not satisfying in a way of knowing that he's been pulling the strings and he's been around for so long. It's just weird to have him be a clone, considering he looks all messed up, considering it's already been done in the expanded universe many, many years ago. I think like 30 years ago at this point. So yeah, that's not very ideal. Well, now it turns out that the father that Rey has, because we all thought in the movie, I haven't seen it since it came out. I saw it twice, and I don't ever need to see it again, but if I remember correctly, Kylo tells Rey that she is the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. Well, if you remember in The Last Jedi, he told her that her parents were nobodies and sold her for drunk money and whatnot, drinking money. And then it turns out, oh no, he's like, oh, your parents are nobody because they chose to be. Very good writing by those people like Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams. Top quality script writing, my friends. Turns out that her father is a failed Palpatine clone, Emperor Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine himself, mind you. I feel like we have to now clarify more on who Palpatine is, because now we know there's like 3 of them. There's the original Palpatine. There's, who is Sheev Palpatine, mind you. There's his failed clone, which I guess is not really his son, but is the father of Rey. So that makes Emperor Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine, Rey's dad. Maybe half dad. I don't know. I am just at a point now where it's like, the sequel trilogy story is over. That movie was a mess, and it's almost like a dead body in a room. And for some reason, there's just this random person beating the shit out of the dead body. And it's like, hey, the body's dead. The guy's dead. Why do you keep hitting him? And that's what I look at this movie now. The story's done. The movie's over. We all saw it and left and we're like, eh. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. But now you're just coming out with more shit and almost trying to fix what the movie tried to also fix at the same time, if that makes sense. I mean, it's one of those things where it was like, Rey was a nobody in The Last Jedi. A lot of people like myself were a little disappointed with that because it set something up in The Force Awakens that she's a somebody. However, after The Last Jedi, my mentality was, just stick with that arc. You already kind of dug yourself into the hole with her having to be someone to be important to the Star Wars universe. At least The Last Jedi was smart enough to go, no, you don't have to be related to anybody to be powerful in the Force. I mean, to be fair, Rey is overly powerful and can do anything and everything she wants, but still, maybe we could have had more story arc with her in Episode 9, after The Last Jedi basically said, yeah, no, she's a nobody, she's not related to anybody important, anyone can be powerful in the Force. I like that aspect. Then The Rise of Skywalker came around and said, well, no, you have to be related to a certain Force user to be extremely powerful. And we're going to take that away from you because you're now a Skywalker. Not a Skywalker, Skywalker. That's what she says at the end, by the way. It's just one of those things where it's like, you already dug your grave, you already made your bed. Now you just gotta bang whatever crawls into it. And it seems like these people keep trying to dig their grave a little further with the story, or make the bed a little neater for the next person to come play hide and pickle with. I just don't understand what's going on over there in the mindset of the Lucasfilm story group when it comes to these kind of decisions. I remember Chris Terrio saying that he would text message Pablo Hidalgo, and I like Pablo Hidalgo. He would message the guy and say, hey, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? You know, what's good, what's bad? Did one of the text messages say, hey, so by the way, we're having Palpatine come back as a clone, and also he's going to have a failed attempt of a clone that gives birth to Rey. Wait a minute, how does the timeline work on this? How old is that failed attempt of a clone? He didn't look too old. He didn't look a day over 35. And if he was if he's a failed clone, could he not use the Force? How did that, like, just skip a generation? I have so many questions. I have so many questions. You know, you want your main protagonist, like Rey, to be relatable, and she's already not because she can do anything and everything she wants. But now it's even less relatable, because after The Last Jedi, I was like, oh, you're nobody. You can be from anywhere and be powerful in the Force. It's like, okay, that's something we can all relate to. We all look for some people. Maybe if you're an orphan, you don't know your parents growing up, sure, you relate to Rey of not knowing who your family is. You want to find out and you can't find out. Well, then Rise of Skywalker, it's basically saying, like, oh, what if you found out your last name's Hitler? Like, oh, God, that's a big reveal. I don't know how that's relatable to, you know, us common folk, but I'm assuming if there's some guy in Germany with the last name Hitler, he's probably going, oh, I really like this Rey character. I really relate to Rey Palpatine a lot. Now it's like, shit, I don't know who can relate to Rey. Does anyone have a dad that was a clone or made in a lab? Who the fuck relates to Rey now? The Powerpuff Girls? They were made in the lab. Their dad wasn't, but I mean, kind of the same thing, right? It's just bad storytelling, man. And I hate using hyperboles that a lot of people use to talk about Star Wars. They're like, oh, it's a disaster, and they're ruining Star Wars. But good God, who the fuck is running this thing? I mean, how much weed did you have to smoke before you came up with this idea? And it's not even weed, because even potheads can function going, nah, man, that's pretty stupid. This is just idiotic. This is just a failed clone has a baby. He's obviously not that much of a failure if he's knocking up a girl to have a kid and living a life like. But then he fucking abandons her, so maybe he's a failed guy because he's a piece of shit. Let this daughter on Jakku. Ooh, trying to hide her. I don't get it. I don't get it. So yeah, Rey is the daughter of Palpatine, maybe half daughter, we don't know. It's not really Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine, and see, you can't even say Palpatine anymore. Like I said, there's Sheev Palpatine, there's Sheev Palpatine 2, who's not even as good as the original Sheev Palpatine, and then there's Rey Palpatine. You can't even say Palpatine anymore, because there's like 3 of them now. Technically 2 if we're just going by who's the clone and who's not. So now when you say Palpatine, it's just like, oh, well, is it Emperor Palpatine? Is it his son that was not really his son, just a clone? Or is it Rey Palpatine? Who the fuck knows? You know what? I'm Star Wars only Palpatine. We're all Palpatines now. You can be a Palpatine, anybody can be a Palpatine. You don't need to be related to anybody. It is clear in the Rise of Skywalker. All you need to do is talk to some old lady. When she asks you for your name, you say, I am, John, and she's like, John who? You're like, John Skywalker. And then when the old guy asks you who you are, you're like, I'm John. And he's like, John who? You say, I'm John Palpatine. Any fucking thing you want. You pick it. Just like your gender. You can change it up any day of the week. So, now it is a Rey Palpatine Skywalker. And you are whoever you are. Michael Palpatine, John Palpatine, whatever. You pick your poison. So, yeah. Everyone's a Palpatine now. Everyone's a Skywalker. Star Wars has officially dug itself into a deeper hole than it needed to be. And that is the state of the storytelling in our franchise. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.